Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Horizon, watching the stars stretch across the main screen. The ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 months now, mapping new systems and looking for planets that humans might one day call home. It was quiet work, but Jake liked it that way. Out here, far from Earth and the busy space lanes, he could think clearly. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Lisa Carter from her position at the navigation station. She was young, maybe 25, with short red hair and sharp green eyes that never missed anything. "The gravity readings don't make sense." Jake walked over to her station and looked at the display. The numbers were jumping around like they couldn't decide what to show. "What kind of strange?" he asked. "Well, according to these readings, there's something out there with the mass of a small star, but I can't see anything on the visual scanners," Lisa said, frowning at her instruments. "It's like there's an invisible mountain floating in space." Dr. Alex Rodriguez looked up from his science station. He was a tall man with dark hair and thick glasses who had spent most of his life studying the mysteries of space. "I'm detecting energy signatures too," he said, "but they don't match anything in our database. The patterns are completely unknown." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. In his 15 years of space travel, unknown energy signatures usually meant trouble. "How far away is this thing?" he asked. "About 6 hours at our current speed," Lisa replied. "But Captain, there's something else. The gravitational pull is getting stronger. It's starting to affect our course." "Can you compensate?" Jake asked. Lisa's fingers danced across her controls, but she shook her head. "I'm trying, but whatever this thing is, it's really strong. We're being pulled toward it whether we want to go or not." Jake turned to Pete Collins, the ship's chief engineer. Pete was a big man with calloused hands and a beard that he kept forgetting to trim. He had been working on starships since before Jake was born, and if anyone could solve their problem, it would be Pete. "Pete, can you give us more power to the engines?" Jake asked. Pete checked his displays and scratched his beard. "I can try, Captain, but I don't think it will help much. Whatever's out there is pulling us with a force I've never seen before. It's like trying to escape from a black hole." "But it's not a black hole, right?" asked Dana Walsh from the communications station. She was normally calm and professional, but Jake could hear worry in her voice. "No," Dr. Rodriguez said. "Black. Holes don't give off these kinds of energy readings. This is something completely different." Jake looked around at his crew. They were good people, all of them. Lisa had graduated top of her class from the academy. Dr. Rodriguez had written papers that changed how people thought about space science. Pete could fix anything that had an engine. Dana could talk to anyone in the galaxy and usually make them smile. They deserved to know what they were facing. "What's your best guess, Alex?" Jake asked the science officer. Dr. Rodriguez took off his glasses and cleaned them slowly. "Well, Captain, based on the energy patterns and the gravitational effects, I think we might have found something that was never meant to be found." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "There are stories," Dr. Rodriguez said carefully. "Old stories that most scientists don't like to talk about. Stories about places in space that are forbidden, where no one is supposed to go." "The Forbidden Zone," Dana whispered. Everyone on the bridge went quiet. Even Pete stopped checking his instruments and looked up. Jake had heard the stories too. Every spacer had. The Forbidden Zone was supposed to be a place where ships went in but never came out. Where space itself was broken somehow. Most people thought it was just a legend, something older species made up to scare their children. "That's just a story," Lisa said, but her voice was shaky. "Maybe," Dr. Rodriguez said. "But the energy readings I'm seeing match some of the theoretical models for what the zone might look like if it really existed." Jake made a decision. "Set course away from whatever this thing is. Maximum speed." "I'm trying, Captain," Lisa said, her hands moving quickly across her controls. "But we're not moving away. If anything, we're being pulled faster toward it." The ship shuddered slightly, as if something huge had grabbed it and was pulling it forward. Jake gripped the railing next to his chair. "Pete, I need everything you can give me," Jake said. "You've got it, Captain," Pete replied, and Jake could hear the engines getting louder as more power flowed through them. But the ship kept moving toward the unknown force. "Captain," Dr. Rodriguez said, his voice very quiet, "I'm reading massive structures ahead of us. Artificial structures. They're hidden somehow, like they're not quite in normal space, but they're there." "How big?" Jake asked. "Bigger than anything humans have ever built," Dr. Rodriguez said. "Bigger than anything any known species has ever built. Some of them look like they could hold entire star systems inside them." Jake felt like the air was getting thicker. "How old?" "Old, Captain. Very old. Maybe millions of years." The main screen flickered and changed to show what Dr. Rodriguez was seeing through his instruments. Jake had seen many amazing things in space, but this was different. Shapes that looked like cities the size of moons floated in the darkness. Structures that twisted and curved in ways that hurt to look at, stretched across impossible distances. And all of it was dark, empty, waiting. "Captain," Dana said, her voice very small, "I'm getting something on the long-range communications. It's from the Galactic Council." "Put it through," Jake said. The screen changed to show the face of Ambassador Kethvar, a tall alien with silver skin and too many eyes. He looked scared. "Human vessel," the ambassador said, "you must turn back immediately. You are approaching the Forbidden Zone. No ship has ever returned from that place. Please, for the sake of all life in the galaxy, do not go any further." Jake looked at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for his orders. The ship shuddered, again, pulling them deeper into the unknown. "Lisa," Jake said quietly, "how much time do we have before we can't turn back?" Lisa checked her instruments one more time. "About 10 minutes, Captain. After that, we'll be too deep in the gravitational field to escape." Jake nodded. 10 minutes to make a choice that could change everything. The communication from Ambassador Kethvar ended, but before Jake could respond, more signals started coming in. The communications board lit up like a Christmas tree as messages poured in from across the galaxy. "Captain, I'm getting transmissions. From everywhere," Dana said, her voice getting higher with stress. "The Zolonian Empire, the Crystalline Collective, the Federation of Free Worlds. Even species I've never heard of are trying to contact us." "Put them through one at a time," Jake ordered. The screen changed to show Talara of the Crystalline Collective. Her body looked like it was made of living diamond, and when she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "Human ship," Talara said. "I speak for the oldest civilization in this galaxy. We have watched the Forbidden Zone for over 50,000 years. In all that time, no ship that has entered has ever returned. Not one. Please listen to our warning and turn away while you still can." The transmission ended and was immediately replaced by another. This time it was a creature that looked like a giant spider made of metal. Jake didn't recognize the species, but the translator made its words clear. "Humans," the spider thing said. "We are the Kretak Dominion. We lost an entire battle fleet. to that place 3,000 years ago. 100 ships, all with the best technology we had. They went in and we never heard from them again. Do not make our mistake. More transmissions followed. Species that normally hated each other were all sending the same message. Stay away, turn back, save yourselves. Finally, a familiar face appeared on the screen. Admiral Helen Brooks from Earth. Command looked tired and worried. She had gray hair and kind eyes, but right now those eyes were hard as steel. "Captain Morrison," she said, "I'm ordering you to reverse course immediately. I don't care what it takes. Use the emergency rockets, if you have to. Blow up your own engines if that's what it takes to stop the ship. But do not enter that zone." Jake had known Admiral Brooks for 10 years. She had never given an order that didn't make sense. But as he looked at his instruments, he could see that her order was impossible to follow. "Admiral," Jake said, "we're trying to turn around, but we can't. Whatever's in there is pulling us forward, and our engines aren't strong enough to fight it." The Admiral's face went pale. "How long do you have?" Pete looked up from his station. "Maybe 5 minutes before we cross the point of no return," he said. Admiral Brooks closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them again, she looked like she had aged 10 years. "Jake," she said, using his first name instead of his rank. "Listen to me very carefully. The Forbidden Zone is not just dangerous. It's something that could threaten the entire galaxy if the wrong people get inside. That's why every species works together to keep it sealed." "What's in there?" Jake asked. "Nobody knows for sure," the Admiral said. "The records from the oldest species talk about weapons that could destroy stars, or technology that could rewrite the laws of physics. Some say there's an intelligence in there that's older than the galaxy itself." Dr. Rodriguez looked up from his station. "Admiral, I'm reading energy levels that are off the charts. Whatever's in there, it's definitely not natural." "Can you tell us anything else that might help?" Jake asked. Admiral Brooks shook her head. "The records are mostly legends and warnings. But there is one thing. Every species has the same story about the last time someone tried to enter the zone. It was about 10,000 years ago. A species called the Vorhan thought they were strong, enough to take whatever was inside. They had technology that made them the most powerful empire in the galaxy. What happened to them?" Dana asked. "They sent their entire fleet into the zone," Admiral Brooks said. "Every ship they had, with their best warriors and their greatest minds. The zone accepted them, pulled them in without any resistance. Then, 3 days later, the Vorhan homeworld and every planet they controlled just stopped. No explosions, no wars, no disasters. The planets were still there, but every living thing on them was gone. Just empty worlds with empty cities." Jake felt cold sweat on his forehead. "And nobody knows what caused it?" "The only clue was a message that every species in the galaxy received at the same time," Admiral Brooks said. "It said they were not ready." "Ready for what?" Lisa asked. "That's what every species has been trying to figure out for 10,000 years," Admiral Brooks said. "And that's why the zone has been forbidden ever since." Pete wiped his hands on his uniform. "Captain, we've got 2 minutes before we can't turn back, but I might have an idea." "What is it?" Jake asked. "I could overload the main reactor." Pete said, "Create a controlled explosion that would push us away from the zone. It would probably destroy the ship, but the escape pods might be able to get clear." "How many escape pods do we have?" Jake asked. 6, Dana said. "But we have 43 people on this ship." Jake closed his eyes. He couldn't ask some of his crew to die so that others could live. There had to be another way. Captain, Dr. Rodriguez said suddenly. The energy readings are changing. It's like something is scanning us. On the main screen, lights began to appear in the darkness ahead of them. Soft blue lights that seemed to be moving in patterns. What are those? Lisa asked. I don't know, Dr. Rodriguez said. But whatever they are, they're getting brighter. Jake opened a channel to the entire ship. All hands, this is the captain. Prepare for unknown contact. All departments report. Readiness. Responses came back quickly from all over the ship. The medical bay was ready. The security teams were at their stations. The engineering crews were standing by. Captain, Dana said. I'm getting something else. It's not a voice communication, but there's definitely a signal coming from inside. The zone. Can you decode it? Jake asked. I'm trying, Dana said. It's not like any communication method I've ever seen. It's almost like it's talking directly to our computers instead of using radio waves. The lights ahead of them grew brighter. They were definitely in patterns now, like writing in a language made of starlight. 1 minute, Captain, Pete said. Jake looked around at his crew. They were scared, but they were still doing their jobs, still trying to find a way out of an impossible situation. Admiral, Jake said to the screen, if we don't make it back, tell Earth that we tried our best. Admiral. Brooks nodded. I will, Jake, and I'll make sure your families know that you were heroes. The ship crossed the invisible line, the point of no return. Jake felt it happen like a door closing behind them. There was no going back now. We're committed, Pete said, quietly. On the screen, the lights were forming shapes that almost looked like buildings or ships, but they were bigger than anything Jake had ever seen, bigger than planets. Dana, Jake said, keep trying to decode that signal. And everyone else, stay sharp. We're going into the unknown. The moment the USS Horizon crossed into the Forbidden Zone, everything changed. Jake felt it first as a tingling in his skin, like static electricity before a storm. Then the ship's lights flickered, and the steady hum of the engines shifted to a different pitch. Captain, Dana said, her voice tight with worry. I just lost all contact with the outside galaxy. Everything. Earth Command, the Galactic Council, even the emergency beacons. It's like the rest of the universe just stopped existing. Jake walked to the communications station and looked at the displays. Where there should have been hundreds of signals from ships, stations, and planets, there was only silence. Complete and total silence. How is that possible? He asked. I don't know, Dana replied. The equipment is working fine, but there's nothing out there to receive. It's like we're in a bubble separated from the rest of space. Dr. Rodriguez looked up from his instruments, his face pale. Captain, I'm getting readings that don't make sense. According to my scanners, part of the ship is moving faster through time than the rest. What do you mean? Jake asked. The forward sections are aging about 10 seconds faster than the rear sections every minute, Dr. Rodriguez said. It's small, but it's measurable. Time itself is flowing differently here. Lisa suddenly gripped her navigation console. Captain, I feel strange, like I'm moving through thick water. Jake noticed it too. When he moved his arm, it seemed to take longer than it should, like the air had become thicker somehow. Pete, Jake called to the engineering station. Are you getting any of this? Pete was staring at his instruments with a confused look on his face. Captain, my chronometer says it's been 5 minutes since we entered the zone. But the ship's main computer says it's been 20 minutes, and the backup computer says it's been 2 minutes. Time distortion, Dr. Rodriguez said. I've read theories about this, but I never thought I'd see it actually happen. Jake tried to stay calm, but it was hard when reality itself seemed to be breaking down around them. Can it hurt us? I don't know, Dr. Rodriguez admitted. In theory, if the distortion gets too strong, parts of the ship could end up in different time streams. We could tear ourselves apart without even knowing it. The main screen flickered and changed. Instead of the star field they expected, it showed something impossible. Structures that looked like cities hung in the void, but they were enormous. Some looked like they could hold entire star systems inside them. Others twisted and curved in ways that made Jake's eyes hurt to follow. Are those real? Lisa asked. Dr. Rodriguez checked his instruments. They're there, but they're not quite in normal space. It's like they exist in between dimensions, only partially in our reality. How old are they? Jake asked. Very old, Dr. Rodriguez said after studying his readings. The energy signatures suggest they've been here for millions of years. Maybe longer. Karen Stone, the ship's holographic specialist, spoke up from her station near the back of the bridge. Captain, I'm detecting massive holographic projectors throughout this region, but they're not creating images, they're creating space itself. What do you mean? Jake asked. This whole area might be artificial, Karen said. Like someone built a pocket universe and hid it from the rest of the galaxy. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Who could build something like that? And why would they hide it? Captain, Dana said suddenly, I'm getting something. Not a radio signal, but something else. It's like the signal is appearing directly in my mind. What's it saying? Jake asked. Dana closed her eyes and concentrated. It's not words exactly. More like feelings. I get the sense that we're being examined. By who? Jake asked. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's very old and very powerful, and it's curious about us. The ship shuddered, but not from any engine malfunction. It felt more like something huge was gently touching the hull. Scanning beams, Dr. Rodriguez said. Something is studying every part of our ship. The beams are incredibly advanced. They're reading our computers, our equipment, even our biological structures. Are we in danger? Jake asked. I don't think so, Dr. Rodriguez said. The beams are completely harmless. It's more like someone doing a very thorough medical examination. Karen's station began to glow with soft light. Captain, the holographic projectors are activating on their own. Something is trying to create an image. A figure began to form in the center of the bridge. It was tall and thin, with features that looked almost human but not quite. Its skin was pale blue, and its eyes were larger than human eyes. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. Welcome, the figure said. It has been a very long time since anyone has come here. Jake stepped forward, trying to project confidence he didn't feel. Who are you? I am a guardian, the figure said. One of many left behind by those who built this place. We have been waiting. Waiting for what? Jake asked. For someone worthy, the guardian said. For someone who might be ready. Ready for what? Jake pressed. The guardian turned its large eyes toward him. To face the choice that destroyed my creators and every species that has tried to enter this place since. What choice? Dr. Rodriguez asked. The choice between wisdom and power, the guardian said. Between what you want and what you need. Between what benefits you and what benefits all life. The guardian gestured. and the main screen changed to show images of vast weapons floating in space. Devices that could destroy stars, machines that could reshape matter at the atomic level, computers that could control the minds of entire populations. "My creators built all of this," the Guardian said. "They became the most powerful beings in the galaxy. They could create and destroy at will. They thought they had become gods." "What happened to them?" Lisa asked. "They faced the same choice you will face," the Guardian said. "And they chose poorly. Their power consumed them. In the end, they had to destroy themselves to prevent their weapons from destroying all life in the galaxy." "But why keep all this?" Jake asked, gesturing at the massive structures around them. "Because someone, someday, might choose differently," the Guardian said. "Someone might prove worthy of inheriting this legacy without being destroyed by it." Pete spoke up from his station. "And if we're not worthy?" The Guardian's expression became sad. "Then you will join the others who have tried and failed. Your ship will remain here forever, and your home world will be marked as a species that was not ready." Jake thought about Admiral Brooks' story of the Vorhan. "How many species have tried?" 47 in the last 10,000 years, the Guardian said. "All failed the test." "What is the test?" Jake asked. "You will know when the time comes," the Guardian said. "For now, you must proceed deeper into the zone. There are others you must meet before the choice is presented to you." "Others?" Dana asked. "The survivors of those who came before," the Guardian said. "Those who chose to remain here rather than return to their people with knowledge they were not ready to possess." The Guardian began to fade. "Follow the lights. Captain Morrison, they will guide you to the inner chamber. But remember, once you begin the test, there is no turning back. You will either prove humanity worthy of this legacy, or you will join us in eternal exile." The figure disappeared, leaving the crew alone on the bridge. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Finally, Pete broke the silence. "Well, Captain, what do we do now?" Jake looked around at his crew. They were scared, but they were still with him, still ready to face whatever came next. "We follow the lights," Jake said. "We find out what this test is, and we try to make the right choice whatever that turns out to be." Ahead of them, a path of blue lights appeared in the darkness, leading deeper into the impossible structures of the Forbidden Zone. The USS Horizon followed the trail of blue lights deeper into the Forbidden Zone. As they traveled, the structures around them became even more impossible. Buildings the size of moons floated past their windows. Bridges of pure energy connected. Platforms that could have held entire solar systems. "Captain," Dr. Rodriguez said, his voice full of wonder, "I'm detecting life signs ahead, but they're unlike anything I've ever seen." "Human?" Jake asked. "Some of them are," Dr. Rodriguez said. "But there are dozens of different species. And, Captain, some of these readings are very old. Thousands of years old." The lights led them to a massive structure that looked like a city built inside a hollow asteroid. Docking ports lined its surface, and Jake could see ships from many different species attached to them. Some of the ships looked familiar, but others had designs he had never seen before. "There," Lisa said, pointing to an empty docking port. "The lights are leading us there." As they approached, Jake could see that the docking port was equipped with connections that would fit their ship perfectly. It was as if it had been built specifically for the USS Horizon. "How is that possible?" Pete asked. "This place is millions of years old, but that docking port looks like it was made for human ships. Maybe it adapts," Karen suggested. "If this place can manipulate space and time, changing the shape of a docking port would be easy." They docked without any problems. The connection sealed perfectly, and breathable air filled the connecting tunnel. Jake selected a small team to explore while the rest of the crew stayed with the ship. Dr. Rodriguez, Pete, Dana, and Karen, you're with me, Jake said. Lisa, you have the bridge. If anything goes wrong, get the ship out of here. How? Lisa asked. We can't even contact the outside galaxy? I don't know, Jake admitted. But try anyway. The team walked through the connecting tunnel and into the alien structure. Jake expected to find empty corridors or ancient ruins, but instead they found a thriving community. People from dozens of different species walked through well-lit hallways, talking and working together. A woman approached them. She was clearly human, with brown hair and tired eyes, but she was wearing clothes Jake had never seen before. They looked like they were made from fabric that shifted colors as she moved. Welcome to Haven Station, the woman said. I'm Captain Nicole Grant of the exploration ship Stellar Wind. Or I was, anyway. That was about 300 years ago. Jake stared at her. 300 years? But you look like you're only 30. Time works differently here, Nicole said with a sad smile. The predecessors built this place to last forever, and they made sure the people inside it would last just as long. Predecessors? Dr. Rodriguez asked. The ones who built all this? Nicole said, gesturing around them. The most advanced species the galaxy has ever known. They called themselves the Kethmiran, but everyone else just calls them the predecessors. She led them through the corridors, past gardens where plants from dozens of worlds grew together, past workshops where people worked on technology that seemed like magic. They were explorers, like us, Nicole continued. They wanted to learn everything, understand everything, become everything. And they succeeded in a way. They learned how to control matter and energy at the most basic level. They could create stars or destroy them with a thought. What happened to them? Pete asked. They made something terrible, Nicole said. Come on, I'll show you. She led them to a large chamber filled with viewing screens. On the screens, Jake could see images of the galaxy, but not as it was now. These images showed the galaxy millions of years ago, when it was younger and more chaotic. The predecessors watched the galaxy grow, Nicole said. They saw species rise and fall. They saw wars that destroyed entire star systems. They saw civilizations that reached for the stars only to tear themselves apart with their own power. Sounds familiar, Dana said quietly. They decided that life was too chaotic, too dangerous, Nicole continued. So they built something to fix it. They called it the Universal Reset Device. The screens changed to show a massive machine floating in space. It was spherical and smooth, but Jake could sense the incredible power contained within it. What does it do? Jake asked, though he was afraid he already knew. It unmakes everything, Nicole said. Every atom in the galaxy, every planet, every star, every living thing. It reduces everything back to the basic particles it was made from. Then it starts evolution over again, hoping that the next time life will develop differently. Dr. Rodriguez went pale. They wanted to restart the entire galaxy? They thought it was necessary, Nicole said. They believed that intelligent life would always end up destroying itself, so the only solution was to keep trying until it got it right. Did they use it? Karen asked. They tried to, Nicole said. But some of them realized what a terrible mistake they were making. A civil war broke out among the predecessors. In the end, the ones who opposed the device won, but barely. They managed to stop the device from activating, but they couldn't destroy it completely. So they built this place to contain it, Jake said. Exactly, Nicole said. They sacrificed their entire civilization to make sure the device could never be used. They sealed themselves and the device away from the rest of the galaxy forever. But they left guardians, Pete said. They left us, Nicole said. Everyone who has entered this place has been given the same choice. Take the technology and become the most powerful species in the galaxy, or destroy it all to protect everyone else. And everyone chose power? Dr. Rodriguez asked. Nicole shook her head. Not everyone. That's why places like Haven Station exist. Some people chose to stay here and make sure the device remains sealed. We're the Watchers now, just like the predecessors were. She led them to another chamber where Jake could see people from many different species working together. Some looked human, others were clearly alien, but they all had the same serious expression. This is Commander Ryan Hayes, Nicole said, introducing them to a man with gray hair and deep lines around his eyes. He was a medical officer on a research ship that came here 800 years ago. Ryan looked up from the device he was working on. Welcome to the hardest job in the galaxy, he said. Keeping the most dangerous weapon ever built from falling into the wrong hands. Whose hands would be the right hands? Jake asked. Nobody's, Ryan said firmly. That's what we've learned here. No species is wise enough to have this kind of power. The temptation to use it is too strong. Even with the best intentions, someone would eventually decide that they knew better than everyone else. Nicole led them to a window that looked out into space. In the distance, Jake could see the universal reset device. It looked small from here, but he knew it was actually enormous. Every few hundred years, a new species finds their way here, Nicole said. They're shown the technology, told what it can do, and given the choice. Most take it and try to leave with the power to rule the galaxy. They never make it out of the zone. What stops them? Dana asked. The zone itself, Nicole said. It was designed by the predecessors to test anyone who enters. If you come here seeking power, the zone will give you exactly what you ask for, and then it will show you why that power is too dangerous to possess. But if you come here for the right reasons, Ryan added, the zone will present you with the real choice. The choice the predecessors faced. The choice that determines whether your species is ready to inherit their legacy. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. What if we choose wrong? Then your species will be marked as not ready, Nicole said, and you'll have the choice to either stay here with us or return home knowing that humanity isn't mature enough for this knowledge. But if we choose right? Pete asked. Then you become the guardians of something that could benefit all life in the galaxy, Ryan said. Not power over others, but the wisdom to help others find their own power. Nicole smiled for the first time since they had met her. That's the real test, Captain Morrison. Not whether you're strong enough to take this power, but whether you're wise enough to use it properly. When do we face this choice? Jake asked. Soon, Nicole said. The Guardians are preparing the final chamber now. But first, you need to understand exactly what you're choosing between. Come on. Let me show you what the predecessor's technology can really do. As they walked deeper into Haven Station, Jake wondered if humanity was ready for the choice ahead of them. He hoped they were, because he was beginning to understand that the fate of the entire galaxy might depend on what they decided. Nicole Grant led Jake and his team through more corridors of Haven Station until they reached a chamber unlike anything they had seen before. The walls seemed to be made of flowing light, and the air itself hummed with energy. This is the memory chamber, Nicole said. The predecessors left their history here and their warning. You need to see this before you face the choice. Karen Stone watched in amazement as holographic projectors all around the room came to life. But these weren't normal holograms. They felt real, like they were actually standing in the scenes being shown. Suddenly, Jake found himself on an alien world under two suns. Around him, beings that looked like tall, graceful humans with silver skin worked in cities that floated above the ground. These were the predecessors, the Kethmiran, in their prime. They were beautiful, Dana whispered. The scene changed, showing the Kethmiran exploring the galaxy, meeting other species, sharing their knowledge. They seemed peaceful, wise, everything an advanced civilization should be. They started out just like us, Dr. Rodriguez observed. Curious explorers who wanted to learn about the universe. The scene shifted again. Now they were watching the Kethmiran, in their laboratories developing technology that could reshape matter, control energy, even manipulate time itself. Jake watched them cure diseases with a touch, terraform dead planets in days, and create wonders that defied imagination. Look how happy they are, Pete said. They think they're helping everyone. But the next scene showed something different. The Kethmiran were watching from space as a younger species destroyed itself in a war. Entire planets burned. Billions died. A Kethmiran voice spoke, seeming to come from everywhere at once. We had the power to stop this war. We could have saved those billions of lives, but we chose not to interfere. We told ourselves that each species must find its own path. The scene changed again. More wars, more destruction, species after species rising to greatness only to tear themselves apart with their own weapons. We watched for 1,000,000 years, the voice continued, always believing that the next species would be different, that someone would finally learn to use power wisely, but they never did. Jake watched as the Kethmiran held meeting after meeting, debating what to do. Some wanted to intervene directly, to use their power to force peace on the galaxy. Others wanted to continue watching and hoping. Finally, we decided that the problem was not with individual species, but with the very nature of intelligent life, the voice said. We concluded that consciousness itself was flawed, that any thinking being, given enough power, would eventually use it to destroy. The scene showed the construction of the universal reset device. Jake could see the pain on the faces of the Kethmiran as they built it. They didn't want to do this, but they believed they had no choice. We told ourselves it was mercy, the voice said, a clean slate. A chance for evolution to try again, hopefully to create something better than us. But then the scene showed the Civil War. Kethmiran fighting Kethmiran as some realized the horror of what they were planning. In the end, we discovered the truth too late, the voice said sadly. The flaw was not in other species. It was in us. In our belief that we knew better than everyone else, in our arrogance that we had the right to decide the fate of all life. The final scene showed the Kethmiran sealing themselves and their weapons away, becoming the guardians of their own prison. That is why this place exists, the voice concluded, not to give power to those who seek it, but to test whether anyone can resist the temptation to play God. The holograms faded, leaving Jake and his team standing in the chamber with Nicole and Ryan. Now you understand, Nicole said. Every species that comes here faces the same test. Will you take the power to reshape the galaxy according to your vision, or will you accept that such power is too dangerous for anyone to possess? But some of the technology could help people, Dr. Rodriguez said. Medical advances, clean energy, ways to terraform dead worlds. Surely some of it could be used safely? Ryan nodded sadly. That's what everyone says at first. That's what I said 800 years ago. My ship came here after my homeworld was devastated by a plague. I thought, if I could just take the medical technology back, I could save billions of lives. What stopped you? Pete asked. The realization that once you start making those choices, you can't stop, Ryan said. Today, you use predecessor technology to cure a disease. Tomorrow, you use it to stop a war. Next week, you're deciding which species deserves to live and which deserves to die. Before you know it, you've become exactly what the predecessors became. Karen was studying the holographic equipment around them. But couldn't we just take some small things? Technology that couldn't be used as weapons? There's no such thing, Nicole said. Any technology advanced enough to help can also be used to harm. The same device that cures cancer can be modified to create new diseases. The same machine that provides unlimited clean energy can be turned into a weapon that destroys stars. New voice spoke from behind them. Jake turned to see the Guardian from the ship, the blue-skinned figure that had first greeted them. "It is time," the Guardian said. "The final chamber is ready. Captain Morrison, you must choose not just for yourself, but for your entire species." "What if I choose wrong?" Jake asked. "Then humanity will be marked as unready, and this location will be hidden from your people until they mature," the Guardian said. "Your ship and crew may remain here as guardians, or you may return home with your memories of this place removed." "And if I choose right? Then humanity will be offered a very different kind of inheritance," the Guardian said. "Not power over others, but the knowledge of how to help others find their own strength." They followed the Guardian through corridors that seemed to stretch and bend around them. Jake realized they were walking through space that was folded in on itself, covering vast distances in just a few steps. Finally, they reached a chamber that was both enormous and intimate. At its center stood two pedestals. On one sat a small device that hummed with incredible power. On the other sat a simple book. "The choice," the Guardian said. "On the left, a single piece of predecessor technology, not their most powerful device, but enough to make humanity the dominant force in the galaxy. With it, you could end all wars, cure all diseases, and reshape the galaxy according to your vision." Jake could feel the power radiating from the device. It was intoxicating. The promise of being able to fix everything that was wrong with the universe. On the right, the Guardian continued, knowledge, the wisdom the predecessors gained through their mistakes, the understanding of why power without wisdom leads only to destruction, and the instructions for how to help other species avoid the same traps that have caught so many others. "What does the book contain?" Dr. Rodriguez asked. "The true history of the galaxy," the Guardian said. "The knowledge of how to guide younger species without controlling them. The methods for sharing wisdom without imposing your will. And most importantly, the understanding that the greatest strength comes from knowing when not to use power." Jake stared at the two pedestals. Around him, his crew waited for his decision. Nicole, Ryan, and dozens of other Guardians watched from the edges of the chamber. "How long do I have to decide?" Jake asked. "As long as you need," the Guardian said. "But remember, once you choose, there is no changing your mind, and your choice will determine not just your fate, but the fate of every human who will ever live." Jake looked at his crew. Dana was staring at the device with longing in her eyes. Pete was frowning, clearly troubled by something. Dr. Rodriguez was studying both options with scientific curiosity. Karen seemed afraid of both choices. "Can I discuss this with my team?" Jake asked. "Of course," the Guardian said. "This decision affects all of you." Jake gathered his crew in a corner of the chamber. "What do you think?" he asked quietly. "That device could solve so many problems," Dana said. "Think about all the suffering we could prevent." "But at what cost?" Pete asked. "You heard what happened to the predecessors. Power like that changes people." "Maybe we're different, Doctor," Rodriguez suggested. "Maybe humans can handle it better than other species." "That's exactly what every other species thought," Karen said. "Every single one believed they were special, that they were ready for this kind of power." Jake looked back at the pedestals. Such a simple choice, but he knew it would determine the future of humanity and perhaps the entire galaxy. Jake looked around the chamber at his crew, at the Guardians watching from the edges, and at the two pedestals that held humanity's future. The weight of the decision pressed down on him like the gravity of a star. "Let's think this through carefully," Jake said to his team. "Dana, tell me why you think we should take the device." Dana stepped closer to the pedestal, holding the predecessor technology. Even from a distance, Jake could see its soft glow reflecting in her eyes. "Captain, think about Earth," Dana said, her voice filled with emotion. "Think about all the children, dying from diseases we can't cure. Think about the wars that tear families apart. Think about the hunger, the poverty, the suffering that happens every single day while we explore the stars." She turned to face him. "With this device, we could end all of that. We could make Earth a paradise. We could spread that paradise to every human colony. No more death from disease. No more wars. No more suffering." Dr. Rodriguez nodded. "The medical applications alone could save billions of lives. And if we're careful, if we use it wisely—" "How do you use godlike power wisely?" Pete interrupted. "Who decides what's wise? Who decides which diseases to cure first? Who decides which wars to stop and which ones to let continue?" "We do," Dana said. "Humans do. We'll make those decisions together, democratically." Pete shook his head. "You think the people who have this power will give it up to a vote? You think they'll let ordinary humans tell them how to use technology that can reshape reality?" "Pete's right," Karen said quietly. "Power like this doesn't get shared. It gets concentrated, and whoever controls it becomes the ruler of humanity, whether they want to or not." "But think about the alternative," Dr. Rodriguez argued. "We take the book, we go home with knowledge, and meanwhile people keep dying from diseases we could have cured. Wars keep happening that we could have stopped. How is that the moral choice?" "Because it's not our choice to make," Pete said firmly. "We don't have the right to decide how other people should live their lives, even if we think we know better." Jake listened to his crew debate, but his mind kept going back to the story of the predecessors. They had started with the same good intentions. They had wanted to help, to make things better. But in the end, they had been willing to destroy all life in the galaxy because they thought they knew what was best. "Dana," Jake said, "if we take the device back to Earth, what happens to the other species in the galaxy? The ones that aren't human?" Dana paused. "Well, we could help them too, share the technology, make their worlds better as well." "And if they don't want our help?" Jake asked. "If they want to solve their own problems in their own way?" "Then we'd convince them," Dana said. "Show them how much better life could be." "And if they still refused?" Pete asked. Dana was quiet for a moment. "Then Then we'd have to make the hard choice. Sometimes you have to force people to accept help for their own good. There it is, Pete said softly. The moment we become the we predecessors. The moment we decide we know better than everyone else. Ryan Hayes, the medical officer who had been here for 800 years, stepped forward from the group of guardians. "May I tell you a story?" Ryan asked. "About my ship and the choice we faced?" Jake nodded. "We came here because my home world, New Geneva, was dying from a plague called the Red Death," Ryan said. "It killed slowly and painfully. By the time we arrived here, half the planet was already gone." Ryan's eyes were distant, remembering. "When I saw the predecessor medical technology, I knew I could save everyone. Not just on New Geneva, but everywhere. I could end disease forever." "Why didn't you?" Dr. Rodriguez asked. "Because I realized that if I took that power back with me, I wouldn't be a doctor anymore," Ryan said. "I'd be a god. And gods don't take orders from mortals. Gods don't ask permission. Gods do what they think is right, whether anyone else agrees or not." "But your people died," Dana said. "Yes," Ryan said sadly. "They did, but they died as free beings, not as pets in someone else's vision of paradise. And in the end, they found their own cure. It took them 50 years longer than my cure would have, but they did it themselves. They earned it. 50 years, Dana whispered. All those people who could have lived. And all the people who would have died in the wars that my cure would have caused, Ryan replied. Because that's what always happens when one group has power that others don't. The others fight to take it, or fight to destroy it, or submit to it. None of those outcomes preserve freedom." Jake walked over to Nicole Grant. "What did your ship choose?" "We chose knowledge," Nicole said. "And it was the hardest thing we ever did. We could have taken technology that would have made humanity the rulers of the galaxy. Instead, we took wisdom that helped humanity become teachers." "Teachers?" Karen asked. "The book doesn't just contain warnings," Nicole explained. "It contains methods, ways to help younger species develop their own technology safely, ways to guide without controlling, ways to share wisdom without imposing your will." "What happened to humanity after you returned?" Jake asked. "They grew," Nicole said with pride. "Slowly, carefully, but they grew. They learned to solve their own problems instead of having solutions imposed on them. And when they met other species, they helped them grow too, instead of conquering them. They became gardeners instead of gods," Ryan added. Jake looked at the device again. Its glow seemed less appealing now, more like a trap than a promise. "Pete," Jake said, "what do you think the right choice is?" Pete was quiet for a long moment. "Captain, I think about my daughter back on Earth. She's only 10 years old. If we take that device, we could give her a perfect world. No danger, no disease, no want." "But," Jake prompted. "But it wouldn't be her world," Pete said. "It would be our world, shaped by our choices, governed by our rules. She'd never get the chance to face challenges and overcome them herself. She'd never get to make mistakes and learn from them. She'd be safe, but she wouldn't be free." "And the book?" Jake asked. "The book gives her something better," Pete said. "It gives her the chance to build her own perfect world, with her own hands and her own choices. It might take longer, and it might be harder, but it would be truly hers." Jake felt something settle in his chest, a sense of rightness, like pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. "Dana," he said gently, I understand why you want to save everyone. That impulse to help, to protect, to heal. That's what makes us human. But there's something else that makes us human. What? Dana asked. The belief that every person has the right to make their own choices, even if those choices lead to pain, Jake said. The belief that freedom is more important than safety, that growth is more important than comfort. Dana looked at the device one more time, and Jake could see tears in her eyes. So we just let people suffer when we could help them? No, Jake said. We help them learn to help themselves. We share knowledge instead of imposing solutions. We become gardeners instead of gods. Jake walked to the center of the chamber and looked at both pedestals one final time. Then he reached out and picked up the book. The moment he touched it, the device on the other pedestal cracked and crumbled to dust. It is done, the Guardian said. Humanity has chosen wisdom over power. You have passed the test. The chamber filled with light, and Jake felt knowledge flowing into his mind. Not just facts and figures, but understanding, the deep wisdom that came from seeing the consequences of choices across millions of years. What happens now? Jake asked. Now, you return to your people, the Guardian said, and you help them grow. As Jake held the book, he felt the knowledge of the predecessors flowing into his mind. But it wasn't just information, it was understanding. He could see the patterns that repeated throughout galactic history, the rise and fall of civilizations, the temptations of power, the wisdom that came from restraint. The knowledge is now part of you, the Guardian said, but there is one more choice to make. What choice? Jake asked. The universal reset device still exists, the Guardian said. And while you have chosen not to use predecessor technology for power, the device remains the greatest threat to all life in the galaxy. The chamber around them changed, and suddenly they were floating in space, looking at the massive spherical weapon that the predecessors had built. Even from a distance, Jake could feel its terrible potential. Every few thousand years, the device activates itself, the Guardian explained. It was designed to be impossible to completely shut down. The predecessors built it too well. When it activates, someone must manually reset it, or it will destroy everything. How long do we have? Dr. Rodriguez asked. 17 hours, the Guardian said. The activation cycle has already begun. Jake felt cold fear grip his heart. Can it be stopped? Yes, but only from inside the device itself, the Guardian said. Someone must pilot a ship into the core and manually shut down the activation sequence. But the energy levels inside the device during activation are lethal to all known forms of life. How lethal? Pete asked. Death is instant, the Guardian said simply. The person who enters will not survive. The group was silent for a long moment. Jake looked around at his crew, his friends, and realized that one of them would have to die to save the galaxy. I'll do it, he said immediately. No, Dana said firmly. You're needed to take the knowledge back to Earth. It has to be someone else. I'm the captain, Jake said. It's my responsibility. Captain, Dr. Rodriguez said quietly. The book contains information about how to disable the device permanently, but it requires someone with extensive knowledge of quantum physics and energy manipulation, someone who understands the science behind what the predecessors built. Jake looked at his science officer and understood. Alex, no. There has to be another way. There isn't, Dr. Rodriguez said. I've been studying the readings from the device since we arrived. I understand how it works. I'm the only one who can do this. We could all go, Pete suggested. Pilot the whole ship into the core. The horizon is too large, the Guardian said. Only a small shuttle can navigate the internal structure of the device, and only one person can fit in the core chamber where the shutdown must be performed. Dr. Rodriguez walked over to Jake and put his hand on his friend's shoulder. Jake, you have to take the knowledge back to humanity. That's more important than any one life. Alex, you have a family, Jake said. Your wife, your children, they need you. They need a galaxy to live in more than they need me, Dr. Rodriguez said with a sad smile. Besides, this is what I became, a scientist for, to understand the universe and to protect it. Karen was crying. There must be some other solution, some way to shut it down remotely. The predecessors were too careful, the Guardian said. They built the device to be tamper-proof. The only way to stop it is from inside. Nicole Grant stepped forward from the group of Guardians. I could do it, she said. I've been here for 300 years. I've already given up my life to guard this place. No, Dr. Rodriguez said firmly. You're needed here. When we're gone, someone has to make sure that other species who find this place understand the choice they're facing. Besides, I know the quantum equations needed to shut down the device. You don't. Ryan Hayes nodded sadly. He's right. The shutdown procedure requires precise calculations that have to be done in real time. Only someone with his level of expertise can do it. Dr. Rodriguez turned to face the rest of Jake's crew. Take care of each other, he said, and take care of the knowledge we're bringing back. Use it wisely. Alex, Dana said, her voice breaking, is there anything you want us to tell your family? Dr. Rodriguez thought for a moment. Tell them that I died doing the most important work of my life. Tell them that every star they see in the sky, every world with life on it, exists because we made the right choice here. He turned to Jake. And tell them that I was proud to serve with the finest crew in the galaxy. Jake felt tears on his face. Alex, I can't order you to do this. You're not ordering me, Dr. Rodriguez said. I'm volunteering. This is my choice. Jake, let me make it. The Guardian gestured, and a small shuttle appeared in the docking bay of Haven Station. It was sleek and fast, designed to navigate the complex interior of the Universal Reset device. The shuttle is equipped with everything you need, the Guardian said to Dr. Rodriguez. The navigation system will guide you to the core. The shutdown procedure is loaded into the computer. Dr. Rodriguez walked toward the shuttle, then turned back one more time. Jake, remember what we learned here. Power isn't about what you can do. It's about what you choose not to do. I'll remember, Jake promised. Dr. Rodriguez climbed into the shuttle. Through the transparent canopy, Jake could see his friend checking the controls, preparing for his final mission. Alex, Jake called out through the communication system. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the chance to save everyone, Dr. Rodriguez replied. The shuttle launched from Haven Station and began its journey toward the Universal Reset device. On the screens throughout the station, everyone watched as the small ship approached the massive weapon. He's entering the outer shell, the Guardian reported. The energy levels are starting to increase. Jake watched the readings climb higher and higher. Soon, they would be lethal to any living thing. I'm at the first checkpoint, Dr. Rodriguez's voice came through the communicator. The path is clear, moving toward the core. For the next hour, they listened as Dr. Rodriguez navigated deeper into the device. His voice remained calm and professional, reporting his progress as if this were just another routine mission. I can see the core chamber, he finally said. It's beautiful. like a star made of pure mathematics. Alex, Jake said, the energy readings are approaching lethal levels. I know, Dr. Rodriguez said. I can feel it. It's time to begin the shutdown sequence. For several minutes, they could hear Dr. Rodriguez, working at the controls, entering the complex equations needed to safely disable the device. The shutdown is working, he said, and Jake could hear the relief in his friend's voice. The device is powering down. The galaxy is safe. Alex, get out of there, Jake said. Come back to the shuttle. I can't, Jake, Dr. Rodriguez said quietly. The energy levels are too high. I wouldn't make it 10 feet. Alex, Jake started to say. It's okay, Dr. Rodriguez said. Really, I can see everything from here. The device is beautiful when it's shutting down, like watching the birth of a new universe, but in reverse. His voice was getting weaker. Tell my family I love them. Tell them I got to see wonders beyond imagination. Alex, Dana said, crying. We love you too. I know, Dr. Rodriguez said. Take care of each other, and Jake, take care of that knowledge. Help humanity grow. The communication went silent. On the screens, they could see the universal reset device shutting down completely, its terrible power finally contained forever. Doctor. Alex Rodriguez had given his life to save every living thing in the galaxy, and in doing so, he had shown what humanity was truly capable of when faced with the ultimate choice between self and others. He was a hero, the Guardian said quietly. He was our friend, Jake replied, watching as the dead device drifted in. Space, its threat ended forever. And now, the Guardian said, it is time for you to return home and help your species become the heroes the galaxy needs. 6 months later, Captain Jake Morrison stood before the Galactic Council in their great assembly hall on Kepler Station. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the vast chamber, all of them waiting to hear what had happened in the Forbidden Zone. Jake looked down at his prepared speech, then set it aside. The truth was more important than diplomatic words. Honored delegates, Jake began. 6 months ago, the human exploration vessel USS Horizon was pulled into the region you call the Forbidden Zone. We expected to find death. Instead, we found the greatest lesson in our species' history. The chamber was completely silent. Even Ambassador Kethvar, who had warned them not to enter the zone, leaned forward to listen. We found the remains of the predecessor civilization, Jake continued. We learned that they had built weapons capable of destroying galaxies, and we learned why they chose to seal themselves away rather than use those weapons. He paused, thinking of Dr. Rodriguez and his sacrifice. We were offered a choice. We could take their technology and become the most powerful species in the galaxy, or we could take their wisdom and learn to help others find their own strength. Which did you choose? Asked Talara of the Crystalline Collective. We chose wisdom, Jake said, and in doing so, we learned that true strength comes not from what you can force others to do, but from what you choose not to do. A murmur ran through the assembly. Many of the delegates looked surprised. Some looked skeptical, as proof of our commitment, Jake continued. Humanity offers the following gifts to all species in the galaxy. He gestured to his aide, Lisa Carter, who had been promoted to his science officer after Dr. Rodriguez's death. She activated a holographic display that showed the technologies humanity had developed from the predecessor knowledge. First, medical. Advances that can extend life and cure genetic diseases, Jake said. These techniques use natural biological processes enhanced by quantum field manipulation. They require no special materials and can be adapted to any species' biology. The delegates representing species that had struggled with inherited diseases leaned forward with interest. Second, clean energy generation that harnesses zero-point fluctuations in space-time, Jake continued. This technology can provide unlimited power without any environmental impact. The plans are freely available to all species. Third, faster-than-light communication using quantum entanglement networks, Jake said. This will allow instant communication across the galaxy, making trade, diplomacy, and cultural exchange easier for everyone. He paused and looked around the chamber. All of these technologies are being shared freely, with no restrictions and no payment required. Humanity asks for nothing in return except that each species use these gifts to help their own people grow and develop. A delegate from the Arcturian Republic stood up. Captain Morrison, these technologies are incredibly valuable. Why are you giving them away for free? Because they were never ours to sell, Jake replied. They were given to us in trust, to be shared with all life. The predecessors failed because they tried to hoard power. We will not make that mistake. Admiral Helen Brooks, who was representing Earth in the Council, stood up. The human government has also established the Rodriguez Institute for Galactic Development, she said, named after the scientist who gave his life to save the galaxy from the universal reset device. Jake felt a warm pride at hearing his friend's name honored this way. The Institute will provide educational programs to help younger species develop their own technology safely, Admiral Brooks continued. We will share not just knowledge, but the wisdom to use that knowledge responsibly. After the formal session ended, Jake found himself in a smaller meeting room with the leaders of the major galactic powers. Ambassador Kethvar was there, along with Talara and representatives from a dozen other species. Captain Morrison, Ambassador Kethvar said, I must ask you directly. Did you really destroy all the predecessor weapons? The temptation to keep even one must have been enormous. The weapons destroyed themselves when we chose wisdom over power, Jake said. The predecessors designed their test well. You can't have both. And the universal reset device? Talara asked. Destroyed permanently, Jake said, his voice heavy with the memory of Dr. Rodriguez's sacrifice. It will never threaten the galaxy again. A new voice spoke from the corner of the room. That is correct. Everyone turned to see a familiar blue-skinned figure materializing, one of the predecessor guardians. The test is complete, the guardian said. For the first time in galactic history, a species has proven worthy of the predecessor legacy. Humanity has chosen to be gardeners rather than gods. What does that mean for the rest of us? Asked the Arcturian delegate. It means you now have teachers instead of conquerors, the guardian said. Humanity will help guide the galaxy toward a future where all species can reach their full potential without destroying themselves or others. Over the following months, the changes began to spread across the galaxy. The medical techniques shared by humanity helped eliminate genetic diseases that had plagued some species for thousands of years. The clean energy technology ended resource wars and allowed civilizations to focus on growth instead of survival. But most importantly, the Rodriguez Institute began sending teachers to younger species. These weren't conquerors or rulers, but advisors who helped each species find their own solutions to their problems. Jake found himself promoted to admiral and put in charge of the institute. His first act was to commission a memorial for Dr. Rodriguez in the heart of the galaxy, where travelers from all species would see it and remember the scientist who gave his life for everyone. On Earth, Pete Collins had retired from space service, and opened a small engineering school where he taught young humans about the responsibility that came with knowledge. Every tool can be a weapon, he would tell his students, but every weapon can also be a tool. The choice is always yours. Dana Walsh became Earth's primary diplomat to the galactic community. Her passion for helping others found its perfect outlet in negotiating aid agreements and cultural exchanges that benefited everyone involved. Karen Stone worked with the Institute to develop new holographic technologies that allowed teachers to share knowledge across vast distances. Her work made it possible for any species to access human wisdom without giving up their independence. Lisa Carter took over as captain of the USS Horizon, which had been converted into a mobile classroom. She traveled the galaxy, visiting young civilizations and offering guidance while being careful never to impose human solutions on alien problems. 1 year after the events in the Forbidden Zone, Jake stood in his office on Earth looking out at the stars. A holographic message appeared in front of him. A communication from the Guardian. "Admiral Morrison," the Guardian said, "I wanted you to know that the former Forbidden Zone has been open to all species. It now serves as a memorial to the predecessors and a reminder of the choices we all face." "Thank you," Jake replied. "I hope other species can learn from what happened there." "They will," the Guardian said, "because humanity has shown them a different path. You have proven that intelligent life can grow beyond the need for dominance. That wisdom is possible." The Guardian paused. "Your friend, Dr. Rodriguez, would be proud of what you have built in his memory." "I hope so," Jake said. "We're trying to honor his sacrifice by helping others avoid the mistakes that have destroyed so many civilizations. And you are succeeding," the Guardian said. "For the first time in millions of years, the galaxy is growing toward wisdom instead of power. Species that once prepared for war now prepare for exploration. Civilizations that once hoarded knowledge now share it freely." After the Guardian's message ended, Jake looked at a picture on his desk. It showed the original crew of the USS Horizon, taken before their journey to the Forbidden Zone. Dr. Rodriguez was smiling, excited about the discoveries they might make. "We did it, Alex," Jake said quietly. "We chose right, and now the whole galaxy is better for it." Outside his window, he could see ships from dozens of species docked at Earth's orbital stations. Not invasion fleets or trade convoys, but teachers and students, scientists and explorers, all working together to build a better future. Humanity had entered the Forbidden Zone as explorers seeking knowledge. They had emerged as gardeners, helping an entire galaxy grow toward its full potential. And in choosing wisdom over power, they had gained something far more valuable than dominance. They had gained the respect and friendship of every thinking being in the galaxy. The legacy of the predecessors lived on, not in their weapons, but in the lesson they had taught through their failure. Power without wisdom led to destruction. But wisdom freely shared led to growth, prosperity, and peace for all. It was a lesson that would echo through the stars for millions of years to come, thanks to a small group of humans who chose to be gardeners instead of gods.